Good morning, Cincinnati, and welcome into another episode of the Bearcat Brunch, brought to you, as always, by our wonderful partners at Royal Links Golf Tours. Have you always wanted to play golf in St. Andrews? Have you ever enjoyed that perfect pint of Guinness in Ireland? Well, with Royal Links Golf Tours, you can do all that and more. They are a golf tour specialist, offering unforgettable golf experiences to Scotland, England, Ireland, and Wales. Their custom itineraries are more than golf trips. They are immersive cultural and country experiences that will surprise and delight you both on and off the course. Royal Links Golf Tours is owned by former Bearcat quarterback Hayden Moore and his partner, UC alum Jeff Bartholomew. So if you'd like to play St. Andrews or have that perfect pint of Guinness, please visit their website at royallinksgolftours.com or call them directly at 770-331-1525. And with that, we are back for what will be our final, unfortunately, episode of the Bearcat Brunch for the 2023 season, as the Bearcats fall to 3-9 with a season-ending loss to Kansas last night at Nippert Stadium, joined, as always, by my good friend Jeff Howe. We were discussing late last night that were we going to turn this into a Survivor Series War Games podcast. Big news in the world of professional wrestling, but I'm pretty sure most people would not be here for that. So, maybe another time, another day. But I can't even say like it's beautiful out. It was beautiful out yesterday, but now we're going to get a typical fall November Ohio day. But Jeff, the season is over. The Bearcats did not reach, I think, any of our hopes, dreams, goals, aspirations, what have you. I'm not really too thrilled or keen to talk about last night's game too much, but as we do, always kick it to you for first thoughts.
I think the season went just about as, I don't know. I mean, maybe even worse than expected. But, I will pull out the maybe the one positive out of last night is Corey Kiner went up over 1,000 yards rushing. That's good.
Yes, we're nothing if not positive. Got to start with the positives.
Absolutely.
Corey Kiner, as you said, over 1,000 yards. Outstanding season. I mean, any way you cut it. Kudos to him and the running game as a whole. I mean, they ran the ball well pretty much all year.
Seventh in the country coming into the game last night. Obviously, something could have shifted one way or another, but it looks like they'll probably finish the regular season in the top 10 in rushing in the FBS, and that's a positive. Obviously, there are a lot of other glaring holes that are going to need to be addressed, but sounds like, obviously they're going to say that they're going to do that. But, like yesterday, we did start off with a field goal. There was some hope given, and we were able to stop them and force a punt on their next possession. And then we punted, and then we made them punt again. Like, there was hope. Dave, I had hope.
Frankly, out of control. Two straight punts. Couple really nice plays in the backfield early in the game from Jonathan Thompson.
Yeah, the defense looked like maybe it was like gonna play the kind of run defense that we were used to for the first half, 3/4 of the season, and then slowly cracks began forming in the armor, and they take the lead, they kind of extend the lead, and we drive down with another solid little drive for a touchdown, cut the lead. I think it was 14-10.
Yeah.
And then sort of if you look on Twitter, everybody was saying it. It was like a microcosm of the season. It was, what we expected to always happen, from what we had prior learned throughout all of the other games this year. And it did, a botched squib kick or an unlucky squib kick that kicks right to the front, whatever, and they get a nice little return. Then they drop a touchdown pass on us, in 10 seconds. How long was that? That drive was 17 seconds. Was how long that drive was credited with being. and they go up 21-10, and from there, nothing positive went our way.
Yeah, it was. I went to the restroom after that touchdown, missed whatever that was a kickoff where a tight end returned it for 22 yards, missed the 30-yard pass, and what got back is they're throwing a touchdown, in roughly 17-second two-play drive. But as the run game as a whole, your main four guys, Corey Kiner, Emory Jones, Miles Montgomery, Ryan Montgomery, rushed for 2,364 yards this year. And you basically gave them nothing, especially in Big 12 play. I dug into the numbers. Essentially gave them nothing in the pass game. You averaged 182 yards, which if you just took that, would be good for 113th nationally. 6 of the 9 games in the Big 12 threw for under 200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions by quarterbacks. Like, the pass offense, and we'll get into the pass defense as well. Full teardown, full demolition, renovation, whatever term you want to use. It's you can't run the ball as seemingly as effectively as they did and not complement it at all in today's college football.
It's insane that they were even able to run the ball that well without having
right.
It's not like they were running a triple option attack.
Yeah, you had games of 99 yards passing, 104 yards last night. I think until that last drive in the first half where we got the touchdown, I think going into that drive there was 13 yards passing. You had 3 games in the 160s. These are just like I said, 113 nationally. There's 130 something teams, I think.
135.
Some of them don't try to throw the ball. So, can you? I'm sorry, I hate to do this. Can you run solo for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Just give your thoughts, man. Let it all out there. I'll be right back.
All righty. Well, so I think last night, as he's talking about, full teardowns of the team, I think we've seen from Scott Satterfield in his post-game press conferences that it's kind of extending. It's kind of like bubbling up from we're gonna have, and we want to go get 8-9 guys from the portal. We want to get 10-11 guys. I think last night he said he wants to get 11 to 14 guys out of the portal, and you're gonna have a lot of areas where we need to fill things in. They've got to be able to generate some sort of pass rush. You can't allow a quarterback to sit in the backfield. You just can't let him sit in the pocket with all the time in the world and be able to pick apart a defense that frankly wasn't very good in the secondary this year at all. And when you do that, when you give him time, give any quarterback time in the pocket, no secondary coverage that is able to do anything other than maybe cover one guy, and then you got dudes running free everywhere. There's blown coverages. I think Scott Satterfield said it yesterday in his press conference that anybody that's looking could see that there were blown coverages, missed assignments, didn't execute a game plan the way that they wanted to do it, and then you end up with what you got. You got guys picking apart the defense, and then you lose the game there. It was a whole lot of the same kind of song and dance of what went wrong after a game, and it's nice to know that people feel bad about it, but it's he said it's not acceptable. I think we all know it's not acceptable. Matt says over here in the chat, I can't click it to bring it up, but he says that he thinks we need more than 12 to 14 guys. I think I don't think you're wrong. There are a lot of needs that have to be addressed for this team to compete in the Big 12. So I think Combs is done after this season. I I don't think so. I think maybe there's an evaluation or reworking of what he handles potentially. Um, Maybe it's just concentrating specifically on special teams or on DBs, or maybe he becomes like solely into the recruiting stuff. I don't know, but um, that could happen. He's gone. They're going to have to look at the coaching staff as a whole. Um, you just can't have the failures across. You cannot have the failures across the team that they did this year. The DBs were very, very awful this year. I mean, that's just can't look by that. Um, Darren says that Coach Scott Satterfield just can't be that unlucky for all the crazy shit to happen to UC. Some of it has to be the coaching, right? Either in details or preparation. And I think that's something that we've brought up. Is I know there's a luck stat, and I've said it before. I think it's kind of, well, I'm sure there's some sort of actual data behind those stats, but I don't know. I don't like the luck stat. I think that there could probably be. I mean, he said yesterday in his press conference that not only is it going to be a tough winter on the players, but it's going to be a tough winter on the coaches as well. So, I mean, you're saying all the right things when times are real bad. So,
Well,
as long as you put it into action.
Yeah, there were a couple of times last night I had to remind myself, like, don't press send, because I wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
The last 2 weeks, especially defensively, it's just left me going,
what are we doing?
What exactly did we do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Like, what West Virginia and Kansas did is exactly what they do. And it's one thing to just watch a game and be like, these dudes are just better athletes, better football players, whatever. I mean,
the talent disparity.
That's like kind of how you felt, I would say, like the college football playoff game against Alabama. Like, we didn't do anything demonstrably terribly. They were just better, and it was evident. But like last night, you've just got guys just running wide open down the field, tight ends, wide receivers, running backs untouched, quarterbacks untouched. Like, and I've talked about it several times, and I think it was very clear the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's been pretty clear all season, but the defense has a major speed factor that is lacking. Whether it's on the edge, 9 sacks in Big 12 games, or whether it's in the secondary, there's a major speed factor that's lacking. But like, you're just either unprepared, undisciplined, or both. That you just give up a 2-play touchdown drive, a 30-yard pass, and then whatever the touchdown pass was.
Like I said,
and guys are just running down the middle of the field.
Yeah,
it's not like their wide receiver. We know, man, this dude is like one of the fastest players in the country. It's not Tyreek Hill where they're just run past the guy. It doesn't matter who you got out there. They're not going to be able to cover him. I don't think it's that.
It's never that, because it's multiple. It is multiple receivers every week. Like you said, whether it's a tight end or a wide out, whatever, slot guy, a running back out of the backfield, like whoever it is, the lack of pass rush, coupled with the fact that our DBs appear to have no idea where they're supposed to be. And that falls on them and on coaching. So
yeah, I mean,
and there's no, and with the lack of speed, there's no ability to cover it up or make up for a slightly blown assignment. Like when it's not covered perfectly, it's just over. It's
Right.
a
I mean,
15-20 yard gain.
over. I don't know if over pursue is the right term, but like over aggressiveness on some of the runs, and then now you're out of position and you don't have the speed to make up for that. Like I felt like on the one run, the one Devin Neal touchdown run in the first half, like Taj Ward just couldn't get to him.
Yeah.
On one of Jason Bean's runs, like
When he went to the outside, like
Deshaun Pace kind of came down a little too much, and there's just no like he wasn't fast enough. Nobody else over there, like so when you make those kind of mistakes and then you compound it with there's just not a ton of overall team speed defensively. I mean, Jason Bean is an electric runner from the quarterback position. And what Kansas does, I mean, if you like offensive football, you got a treat last night. You got them snapping the ball to running backs, handing it off to quarterbacks who are throwing. You got like four different guys, I think at least four different guys that I can think of took a snap. Like, it's a fun offense to watch, and it's a frustrating offense, I'm sure, to scout and defend. But, I mean, some of these things are not tricky. Like, running a tight end right down the middle of the field shouldn't be like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. We hadn't seen them do that all year. Like, it's game 12. They've pretty much run it all. So, I mean, I think defensively, I'm just kind of left scratching my head there because offensively, I think we have a good understanding of what didn't work and where it needs to get better. Defensively, I'm just kind of like everything that we thought this defense could be and was for a decent amount of time in this season just totally disappeared. Like, and it's, I mean, they didn't really have any major injuries defensively. Like, I mean, Jack Dingle is playing with a broken hand or something, but like Corleone, Briggs, Pace, Threats, Jordan Young, obviously Sammy didn't play most of the year, but he was out the whole year. I mean, outside of the part of the first game. So it's like, we can talk about the depth, but it was like, I mean, who was
that's
it?
Not fixing. That's not like that little like. I mean,
it's not like we were playing walk-ons at safety like West Virginia was, and we still couldn't pass the ball against them for most of the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a lot to look at. There is a lot to correct. But yeah, I mean, it's some of it, sure. Like, some of it is luck, but it's also putting yourself in a position to where those things don't matter. And yes, they probably shoulda, coulda, woulda won a couple more games, and maybe we feel a little bit different. But it doesn't change the fact of the things that are the frustrating parts of games, because you're just like, okay, maybe is this a 1-year thing? Are we able to fix it that much in the offseason? Or are there going to be, I have a hard time believing there's going to be staff changes. You have a first-year head coach. He's, he brought his guys. Most of them, if not all of them, have signed 2, maybe 3-year contracts.
and there was a lot of money in that assistance pool that was.
Are you buying assistants out? We'll see. I mean, unless someone leaves on their own accord, I'm not sure I would expect it or plan for it.
Maybe there's some reorganizing of assistants.
I mean, maybe, but like Brian Brown coaches the safeties. Everybody knows Kerry Combs coaches the corners. Kerry, I think, is on a 3-year deal. Like, unless Kerry wants to leave, I just have a hard time believing that he's not going to be coaching some element of the secondary next year.
Matt brought up while you were gone, I was speaking on how many guys that coach said they want to get out of the portal, and it seemed like over the last few weeks, as they've mentioned it here and there, it's ballooned from whatever, like 8 or something initially.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've
12
noticed
to
a couple
14.
times he's thrown this 12 to 14 number around. I think that's low.
Yeah, that's what that's what Matt brought up, and I tend to agree with him.
Maybe it ends up being pretty accurate, but it wouldn't stun me if the number was 15 or more. But I posted something on the board today, and like the portal, like you just went 3-9. Is it great for a program to have like what will the term mass exodus in the portal? No, I mean it's never great, but like, are you really gonna like that? We saw what that roster did. Now it's certainly not all on the players. I mean the coaches are very, very culpable for a 3-9 season just as much as the players are. I mean they're getting paid a lot of money. They need to answer the questions. They need to get it right, or they're going to be gone. But like every transfer, I think needs to be looked at individually because you do have a new staff. Maybe there were some that they kept, but it was more so because like we just can't have this many guys leaving in a transition year. So you're going to have fickle recruits who are 2 to 3, maybe 4 years in, who are not on the 2D that are going to transfer out. I'm sure of it. Well, okay, like I appreciate them being Bearcats, but if you couldn't crack the 2D last year in the AAC and this year a struggling season in the first year in the Big 12, there's not this like long line of track record of players around the country who like don't play hardly at all for 2 or 3 years and then all of a sudden become key contributors. Like you usually start to see guys work their ways in. Okay, so you have that
plays here and there, and
you have that group. Then you have a group of we got in, we saw a season. This guy's just not. He doesn't fit. He doesn't fit scheme wise. He doesn't fit. Maybe it's some off the field stuff. Maybe it's personality wise. It's just not a fit. Then you got guys that you're just like, they're just not good enough. We want as fans, we want the program to be as good as possible, which then also means whether you think this is going to work in the future with Scott Satterfield and his whatever, that is separate from the point of like, okay, you need to figure it out. And if that means these guys, you feel like these guys aren't going to help us get to where we go, then fine. And you've put this recruiting staff together and they've now had a year to do what they've been brought in to do and scout and watch and see, talk to people, read tea leaves, do their research, try to find out who's going to be entering the portal, who can. Okay, well now it's on them because this is about as recruiting and sports are about as bottom line business as it gets. You either get the dudes or you don't. You either win games or you don't. So, not that there were excuses before, but there certainly aren't going to be excuses now because it's like, okay, you have the highest year. You have the highest overall staff budget that UC's ever had. You're in the Big 12 now. You have NLI as, we can probably debate how good it is, but like that has now been set up. That is, guys are getting deals. Guys are getting like all these things are now not in their infancy. They're in the portion of now you need to make something happen. And if that means 20 guys leave and 20 new guys come, whatever. But you certainly need to bring in a much more impactful level of transfer because they are not. I think we've talked about the 21 and 2022 recruiting classes. There's that. The 2023 recruiting class is small and could lose players off of that. the 2024 recruiting class. I like a lot of elements of it, but again, how much? I mean, West Virginia has had success playing some true freshmen at the end of the year, but how much success can you bank on next year? True freshmen coming in and helping you win at a much higher level in the Big 12. So yeah, they're going to need to, and I don't care where they come from. Like,
no, not at all. If they come from,
they could come. There's some FCS guys that are in the portal already that a lot of teams are interested in that look like very, very good players. Like, so I don't care where they come from, but they certainly need to have, I feel like, a bigger overall impact than what we saw this group do.
Yeah, I just look like like you said last year. There was, you can come up with some excuses here and there, and we've and not even really excuses, but some mitigating circumstances, and that all goes away once you've been here for a year and you've set up GM roles and all these specialized recruiting and new scouting department things, and there are players all across the country, and once you get to the point where if you're going to be 3-9 this year, and next year you're also going to be, maybe you end up 3-9 again, God help us. Like, if you don't start showing some improvement, and we have to go back to, start the whole thing over and blow it up every year, like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
you're going to end up in this.
I'll answer Tyler's question just because I know a lot of people, when you go 3-9, they have that question. Realistically, when is the soonest they can get rid of the set? If we go below 500 next season, is it happening? Here's the deal with the contract. It is basically fully guaranteed up until the 2025 season. So unless there is just a total cratering next year, and somebody or somebodies want to pony up all of that money, Scott Satterfield will be the coach at UC for the next at least for the next 2 seasons. Now, if you don't go to a bowl game next year, you are absolutely, in my opinion, you're absolutely on the hot seat going into year 3. And then who knows what happens based on how that year goes. But nothing realistically outside of, the worst of the worst, or someone or someone's saying like, we're done here, is happening anytime in the near future. But you certainly need to, they have to go to a bowl game next year.
The last coach to miss more than one bowl game qualification during their tenure was Rick Minner. All the other ones missed at most one season. It was either their last one.
Well, yeah, Tubbs missed 2 in a row, and then he got fired at the end of the second one.
Did I miss that?
Pretty sure. I could be wrong, and that one was trending in I think the first 2 years were 9-4s, and then was trending, and then we had the, go to hell, get a job and whatnot.
Go to hell, get a job.
But, and I don't want to talk about those things because I don't think that's fair. I mean, coaches can have a bad first year and turn it around.
Our last coach did.
Certainly. And, I understand where some of the sentiment comes from. There's a reservation based off of how things went at Louisville. And I totally get it. And you are totally fair to have those thoughts and those opinions. And it is on them to, in a whole bunch of ways, as basic as I can put it, just do a whole hell of a lot better. Whether it's roster, whether it's off season, whether it's scheme, whether it's in-game coaching, whether it's discipline, whether it's, I mean, you went 3-9, and in four of the Big 12 games, you were not really competitive.
I mean,
so
we've talked about it.
Anything is open, like, and I want to give the fans a pretty good amount of credit, because that stadium was not full, not even really like close to full. Students being gone had a lot to do with it, but the fans were there way more than they were there. I remember the Memphis game, Tuberville's last year. I mean, maybe 5,000 people were at that one. I mean, the infamous Temple game when Luke was all mad that there weren't more people there when we were playing for an AAC title game. Like, there were way more people there last night for that than that game.
And I kind of want to touch on. I meant to bring this up earlier. I got sidetracked, as I do, but as we talked earlier about like the portal stuff and having this staff of like guys that are going to be scouting and GMing and whatever, I was kind of surprised that once the season had developed into what it was going to be, that there wasn't more of a push maybe to get like guys like Drogish and you know what, I don't care if he's like super raw and whatever, like to get some of these other guys, like I don't know. I felt like it was kind of just like, let's just keep like, hammering the nail with the same hammer and hope that it finally works. Whereas like I would have liked to see that maybe with like some younger. See what you have at game speed, and I know we've touched on the whole game speed thing and getting guys in there and getting some film about that to see what it is, because it's never the same as when you run these guys on the scout team against. Although I guess maybe if Brady's running against on the scout team offense against the defense and isn't looking like a Heisman candidate, maybe he's not it, because this defense really hasn't been that difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand that sentiment, I think, and that's why we had talked, whatever it was, 3-4 weeks ago, of like, that make the move then if you want to see the Bradys play like legitimate snaps.
No.
Because like I'm maybe on an island on this one. Like, I don't think there's much to gain from just like, throwing any young guy into a game like in the last game of the season in the second half, like when it's guys are showing in practice whether they should be out on the field or not. Like, and if I don't have any problem with coaches that watch practice and go, that guy's just not ready to go out there, regardless of how good, bad, ugly, whatever the on-field product is.
I guess it could always be worse.
I'm not putting a guy out on the field that I don't think is ready to play.
That's fair.
Now, are there, and they talk a lot about like these these young guy scrimmages and whatnot. But like, I mean, we've kind of seen like we've talked about Brady Drogish playing like Brady Lichtenberg. I think he's banged up. He's obviously banged up against West Virginia. But like, there's certain things when I watch, and Emory frustrates me on certain levels, but there are also things that I watch when Brady goes in that are not even close to where like Emory is. I mean, the one interception, the guy made a great play. I think the ball was underthrown. Then he threw another pass over in the middle of the field. Like, there's five guys within 3 yards of it.
Yeah.
Then maybe you're just trying to make a play and you're forcing things. I get that, but like, I just watched some stuff with reads and tempo, and I'm just like, I don't really like. I kind of see why they are not playing a ton.
Well, like, I mean, to the point I'm trying to make, maybe that's something that is good to see, because then you can say, okay, well, maybe we're not, because Emery's leaving. Like, he can't come back.
Yeah, I think it's
Like,
pretty clear they need a legitimate quarterback in
and
the portal.
you're gonna have you've got what, Samaj Jones is still on schedule to be here, but
Yeah,
like you said,
he'll be a freshman just like
you
Brady
don't
Dregish was. So your
exactly.
three quarterbacks next year, as of
Zero
now, are Brady
have what?
Lichtenberg, who hasn't taken a ton of snaps, a
Mm-hmm.
redshirt freshman, and a true freshman. Like, that doesn't leave
Exactly.
me feeling great that you don't, like, anybody saying like, no, they don't need one. I'm like,
Oh
oh,
no,
okay.
they absolutely need one. And the thing is, and I brought this up before, but like, you're, I mean, you're gonna have to probably, you're not gonna go pull in like a Bo Nix style transfer. Like, you're probably gonna have to find maybe a diamond in the rough.
No, I think there's going to be a
Unless
lot
there's
of
a
transfer
big,
quarterbacks out there. But again, like, it's you're gonna have to get someone. I mean, my thing is needs to be someone much more adept at passing.
yeah, you've got to
And
have
if they
you have
happen
to
to
have the dual
be
threat.
if they happen to be dual threat, great. But like, I'm much more into passing quarterback who is athletic enough to get himself out of trouble if need be, keep a play alive, run if he needs to. I'm not so concerned about like, can we run the ball
From the
with
quarterback
with the
position.
quarterback.
Yeah. So you're looking more like,
I mean, they almost ran for 2,000 yards this year without even accounting for Emery's rushing.
so you're looking more like a quarterback a la Joe Burrow, able to throw the ball,
Yes, I would
but
love it
also
if Joe
escapability. I'm not
Burrow,
saying
a Joe
obviously
Burrow-like
I'm not
quarterback transferred to
I'm
UC.
not saying I'm saying that style of like being able to, like, the escapability, run if
But
you
like
got to,
any
like,
any
don't
of
be.
any of these guys, like, I mean, you mentioned Bo Nix. He's a guy like I think about. Another one just crossed my mind too. Like JJ McCarthy, like they are athletic. They are not running quarterbacks, but they are athletic enough to be a plus in the run game when you need them to be. But I don't necessarily think you need to have 5 to 10 designed quarterback runs. I need someone that, is going to complete 65-70% of his passes, and the passing offense is going to be much more dynamic than, under 200 yards passing on average for 3/4 of the season.
When you brought up JJ McCarthy, it's not, he does have a 4.40.
Does he?
Yeah.
Wow. But I mean, but they don't run him, like, you know what I mean?
You're
Like,
right.
they're
Exactly.
not.
It's not, there's not like a designed, like, not like this is just going to be straight up like we're going to run the ball and then maybe throw it every now and then. Like, it is a more traditional style. And then, I mean, it helps when you've got, the other threats around there that they've got as well. But
Yeah, Josh asks, is that what the staff wants, or do they want the? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Scott's done it with both type of guys. I mean, he's obviously had the Malik Cunningham and the Armonte Edwards back when he was at App. I think the App situation makes it a little bit different. I think when they were there at that level, you could really, like, Armonte Edwards was a special dude for them at that level, and you could really, like, kill teams because of what he offered. I just don't know how you look at what they did in the pass game this year and don't try to find someone who is much more on the passer side than the 50-50 runner side. Matt asks, can Bean transfer here? I mean, based on, if Jaden Daniels, he says he's staying, if he stays, I mean, the guy can't stay healthy. So, I mean, he could be the starter again next year. Who the hell knows? I'm sure if he did transfer, he'd have a long line of schools that would be interested. I would be interested. I mean, not just from last night. I mean, I think he's played a ton of football for a career backup. So, absolutely. I did want to, give something on GMAC's point, and because I get it. UC can't afford to keep that. If we have another bad season, people keep talking about his buyout, but what people don't see is the profit loss at the gate. I totally get that. But who's paying who's our oil boosters that are paying 4 years? Oh, and then being his 6th year, he's done. So that answers that. But like, who are our oil boosters that are paying 4 years worth of a buyout? I mean, I think from experience and talking to people, like with all of the stuff UC has done over the last several years, even decade, to put themselves in a position to go to the Big 12, like all those bills, all those debts are still having to be paid. And I think there's a sense of like from the top echelon, top of the line boosters is like untapped out. You guys need to start cultivating some new revenue sources.
Right.
So while I totally get it, because yes, if they have another season like this one, the crowd that was there last night will absolutely not be there again next year. But who is coming up with, I mean, it's a 6-year contract. Who is coming up with all of that money when we're still not on the full Big 12 distribution? I mean, it's more, but we're spending like everybody wants to be competitive. That was the whole, day one ready campaign. It's like raise all this money so we can be as competitive as possible from the jump. Like we're trying to do that across the board. So like that money is being spent. Money is being spent on still paying off Lindner Center debt, still, paying for this 120 whatever $1 million athlete performance center, basketball locker room, volleyball locker room, new baseball stuff, whatever else the football team needs, whatever else, all the others, like we're just not, I don't think we're at the point where, unless, like I said, somebody or somebodies are just like, yeah, here's the money, make it happen. I don't want to watch this anymore. I don't think we're really at that point until at least 2025. And then how that season starts and how that season goes. Because then at that point, I think is when the contract is not fully guaranteed.
I think it's after 3 years. Yeah. It was brought up in a conversation I was having. The other person was brought up a good point that there are very few programs, like the number of programs across the country that can just like out and out, like get rid of a coach after 1 year or even like 2 years or it's pretty, a pretty tight, pretty small amount of like programs that can do that. They can afford to do that. I mean, what happens like at this point? So let's like, say hypothetically crazy that, somebody goes down there tomorrow and is like, here's the check, like bring somebody else in here. Like you're likely going to be in the same situation next year, regardless of who the coach is. There has to be some level of like,
right.
Okay,
you're not like, yes, there, the continuity.
Not everybody's born on third base.
The continuity factor of like, you have to give them at least, I think, a chance to implement everything they want to do on their terms. And that has to start now. And I think you get next year. And if you don't see legitimate, significant improvement and it translates to wins, like we can't be sitting here next year going, hey, remember when we said if I told you that this happened last year, well, it's happening again. Like we can't do that. So, next year, let's see what happens. And then if it's more of the same and you're heading into then yeah, it's anybody's opinion, anybody's thoughts, I think are more than valid. Tyler, honestly, I would love, Tyler asked me about the read on boosters and things of that nature. I'm just not going to be able to answer your question. I'll just leave it at that. Maybe sometime we can run into each other, and if I've had a couple sodas, I can answer your question. But that is one that I just am not going to touch currently.
Darren brings up a good point. People underestimate stability. At some point, like,
well, I agree to an extent. Like,
right,
the Marvin Lewis Bengals stability for the sake of stability is the old definition of insanity. But yes, 1 year in, a lot of things move, a lot of moving parts this 1 year. Let's see what happens now. Moving into year two.
You've had over a full season of time in the big boy chair, and you better have had some things going on throughout the season because look, like these guys are like, that's what they do for a living, is coach and recruit and scout. Some people are better at it than others, but like they've been doing it now for a year here and have been able to go out and pitch and do those kinds of good things. So let's see what they're made of, see what they've, maybe they found and uncovered some things and made some connections through, the backdoor channels, and are ready to pounce when the portal opens on December 4th. I think Chad can probably correct me if I'm wrong on that date. But there's going to be some things that are moving, and here's the other thing: is like we're not rolling into a bowl game, right? They're going to now be able to just turn and I know that that's not a positive that we're not going to a bowl game, but at least maybe now they can pivot and turn directly and put their full force into what we need portal wise and hit those things heavy. They don't have like an extra week of practice or extra couple weeks of practice, whatever. Like, they're going to be able to go in, recruit, like look at the portal, get guys out of the portal, and maybe that starts the upward tick.
For people that aren't as 100% dialed in, like, you have the championship games that'll be Friday and Saturday. The, I guess, window for the transfer portal for non-graduates will open the 4th. They will have official visit weekends for portal guys and potentially any other class of 2024 recruit or 2023 recruits, or no, 2024 recruits. I'm getting this all backwards. The weekends of the 9th and 16th. Then the dead period starts on the 18th. Early signing day is the 20th. And Chad and I were talking about this last night. I'm not entirely sure how that all works with transfers, if it's a dead period for transfers too. I assume if you're a graduate, you can kind of do whatever you want. But then you're going to be trying to get a lot of these guys in. And we saw kind of a split. They had like 14 guys, I think, enrolled for the spring semester, and then I think 8 came on in the summer last year from a transfer standpoint. So you obviously want as many as you can get in for spring practice. And then I think we've discussed that as of now, it's sounding like roughly half or so of the high school recruiting class will be are anticipated to be early enrollees. Yeah, the more guys that they can get in here and see, the better, because then that'll tell them, okay, what do we still need to try to do in the summer in the portal? Let's see them go to work. Like, I've had conversations with them. Chad's had conversations with them. There's obviously things that that is not for, it's off the record, not for public consumption. I have, I'm not going to put a level of confidence on it, but like, it certainly sounds like they have a good idea of what they want to do. Zach Grant has a track record at Western Kentucky of using the portal and getting that program at a much higher level, much at a quick rate. So let's, like we talked about earlier, like, let's see it. Go to it, fellas. Like, we saw what, and I'm not going to talk poorly about individual players or on their, but like, I mean, we saw what we got. We got 3-9. Everybody's has a hand in it.
Yep.
Coaches, players, doesn't matter.
And it all needs to improve across the board.
Fans can split it up however, split up the blame, so to speak, however they want, and I'm not going to tell them they're wrong. But it's on them to get it figured out and quickly, because was mentioned earlier. Yes, I think we all kind of joked when they announced the sellout, but there were a lot more people there than I anticipated for a night game, not freezing cold, but cold Thanksgiving weekend, closing out a disappointing year. I don't think you can expect the same level of commitment. I mean,
you probably get
you got to give
of transition of folks saying like, oh, this is really bad, and like, of course everybody's going to be, maybe there's going to be some irrationality and some really tough, but you still had folks showing up, still had folks going down there. Maybe not everybody that bought a ticket showed up, or everybody that had a season ticket showed up, or whatever. But like, you gotta have that anyway.
You got to start giving something back. Like, I gave you half last night. I didn't get much in return.
Yep. So, and the other thing that isn't as frequently pointed out, and I know it was brought up at least one other time this season, Dave's got to be allowed to bring the confetti poppers back in.
I mean, the whole program has really gone down the crapper since they banned me from, the coach leaves, we lose it at home to Tulane, we win one home game this year. I mean, there needs to be a citywide emergency hearing on being allowed to bring the confetti cannons back in.
That's what this has come to.
So, but
confetti cannons back in.
That's right. I think that's a great place to end our discussion on the 2023 season on the Bearcat Brunch. Obviously, the ABP, Chad and I, Wednesday nights or Thursdays, depending on when there are basketball games. There's going to be news, man. I mean, guys are going to be transferring out. The portal's going to open.
I mean, you already had Shimon Mateo already hit the portal. So
we're going to have visits. We're going to have signing day. There's certainly going to be a lot more action if you're into the transactional part of the season. But unfortunately, that is where we are nationally. The Alabama thing was an absolute insanity.
The 4th and 31.
Yeah,
4th and goal.
4th and goal from the 31. You drop 9, and somehow you get single coverage in the corner of the end zone
and catch it.
Yes. For anybody that is not a member, with all these things that are about to happen, 75% off year subscription. Bearcat Journal still available.
Buy a subscription for yourself, for your friends, for anybody that you want. Give it to them as a little stocking stuffer.
Absolutely.
And give them the access right now. Just tell them, hey, this is for later.
All I'll say about the Alabama-Auburn game is karma's a thing when you hire Hugh Freeze. The Mark Stoops Texas A&M thing, that was pretty funny. He had about a 3-hour run as Texas A&M's head coach.
Yeah, he did.
And then their fans pulled a Tennessee when we tried to hire Greg Schiano and said, not on my watch.
No, that's not what happened. What happened was his name was connected to it. They won a big in-state rivalry game.
That is exactly what happened.
And he loves those kids.
Yeah, that was done. And then literally everybody that's a Texas A&M fan went, wait a second, we didn't like Jimbo, but we paid him $76 million to go hire this guy?
That is not who you are bringing in. Find someone
No,
else.
I don't know if they're going to do. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. That was clearly their candidate today. I mean, that thing was too many people
Yeah.
were talking about it. I mean, obviously, no one nationally rubber stamped it, but like it was heading that direction. And boy, there was some blowback.
That quickly turned into no, it's not. I mean, there was also the Dabo Sweeney poaching rumors.
That would be just the worst hire on every level for them and him. Like that would be just an awful idea. Maybe they'll hire Ryan Day because apparently 40-3 in the Big Ten, but 0-3 against Michigan has a lot of people wanting to fire a guy that's 56-7.
Yeah.
For his career. That is a fascinating, just something to watch from the outside.
I mean, that's a different attitude to take towards life, I think.
I mean, I think it's ridiculous, but I mean, if they're the brand in like I'm not sure there's a bigger brand in college football. Like Alabama's won a lot more recently, but like when's the last time Ohio State was just bad? Because I can remember when Alabama was bad. I was in school. It wasn't that long ago. Like Ohio State is never bad. And they're certainly not bad now, but like if you're never bad and you're the brand, like it's national championship play, right now Final Four playoff national championship and you've lost 3 times in a row to your biggest rival. Like,
and here's the thing.
I think it's ridiculous, but I also kind of get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like I have a buddy that is, I'm sure we all can say this, but like I got a buddy that went to Ohio State. His wife went to Ohio State. They're like huge Ohio State people. And it's like, I mean, that's serious business up there. And like you lose to Michigan now, and then like, with no divisions coming up, I was talking to him yesterday. With no divisions coming up, it was like, does it take any luster off of like the game for you if for the next 9 out of 10 years they play twice in back-to-back weeks?
Yeah, it's certainly gonna be interesting. I think all those Big Ten West schools, now that there's no more Big Ten West, have a rude awakening coming.
A very, very tall hill to climb,
because
as it were.
All 4 of those Pac-12 schools, and this is the funny part. I mean, last night's very weird UCLA USC result, or UCLA Cal result notwithstanding, USC's probably in the worst shape of all of them coming in from like a program stability, knowing who they are standpoint. But they're all still like considerably ahead of pretty much everybody in the West.
Yeah.
So that is going to be interesting. Obviously, they're not all going to play a murderer's row of getting Ohio State and Michigan and 2 or 3 of the Oregon, Washington, whatever every year. But there's certainly no more of getting 6 of your league
bottom
games
half of
against Nebraska and Minnesota and Purdue and Northwestern
and Maryland and
so. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean,
there was some cool. I mean, like the Apple Cup was very competitive. That was fun to watch.
Washington they're certainly skating on it. I think Oregon is just going to light them up next week.
It very well could happen that way. The Pac-12 is certainly going out with a bang, as it were. I mean,
Arizona is damn good. So yeah, they
you got a couple Heisman candidates out there in the Pac-12. You got a couple, college football playoff, hopes are up in the Pac-12 championship game. I mean, they didn't just whimper into the night.
Oregon, Washington, and Alabama, Georgia are going to be 2 very fun games to watch next week.
I mean, then you talk about Georgia. Georgia Tech wasn't like a signed, sealed, delivered game
Hey,
until
good old fashioned hate is a rivalry.
that was. Well, there was some hate there. Uh, I don't know what else was. I mean,
Tyler's asking Heisman winner. If I was voting, I would vote for Jaden Daniels
I was gonna say
at
LSU.
LSU. I don't care that their defense stinks. The guy, I mean, look at his numbers. He's had he's had a better year than Joe Burrow did when everybody said that was the best offense in college football history.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at what were his numbers yesterday. Let's see. He was 16 and 24 for 235 and 11 carries for 120 yards.
Yeah,
and 4 touchdowns.
Matt, who should A&M hire? Mike Elko. That's who I would hire.
Oh, I think that they should hire Scott. That was a joke. Yeah. So let's see. Anything else? BYU, Oklahoma State, Tennessee, Vandy. Any thoughts on your boys down there?
Nope. Don't have any thoughts on our game against Vandy, but
Liberty is 12-0. Are they the highest?
I think Tulane is still higher than them.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Willie Fritz has done a decent job down there.
He's done an excellent job. I mean,
yeah.
I like him. I know he's on the older side of things, but like him, Lance Light, like I think some of these schools, they make it too complicated. Like, get a damn football coach. Like, these guys have won everywhere they've been. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, get just a dude that can coach ball, and the other stuff will figure itself out because you're going to win. So the other stuff will come because you're winning.
Yeah. Iowa, once again, won.
Dude. 10-2, scored 18-something points per game and had the worst offense in the country by total yards. The worst. 200. They averaged like 246 yards of offense.
Like, I know that we've
like
bring it up every week, and I'm like, how on earth
the
are they still
under
winning?
Hit, and it was 24.5.
Like, I mean, they lost. Okay, so they lose to Penn State. They got thumped by Penn State, and then they lost to Minnesota by 12-10.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now they get Michigan in the
22.5 point spread for a conference championship game against a 10-2 team.
That is crazy.
Well,
yeah, 124th in points for, 130th in average passing yards, 104th in rushing yards, and 4th in points against.
It's amazing.
Like,
what a sport.
I
saw some what was it? Oklahoma TCU combined for 114 points, and Nebraska and Iowa combined for 23, and we're talking about the same sport.
Yeah, I caught the end of the Kansas State Iowa State game.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Iowa State scored 42 points on 35 plays.
I was going to say Iowa State had 35 plays. Kansas State ran 102. But yeah. Iowa State scored on plays of 60, 71, 77, 79, and 82. That's from the Big 12 Podcast Network Twitter account where they put that out. But
Kevin, I agree. The Big Ten is absolutely just garbage. I mean, it's Michigan, Ohio State, and then a massive drop-off even to Penn State, and then even a further drop-off to everybody else. Yeah, it is bad.
And that's how that plays perfectly into the conversation earlier of like these teams having a rude awakening coming when the divisions disappear. And they're like, wait a minute, we can't just like trip and fall into a conference championship game?
No.
Ollie Gordon's 5 touchdowns carried Oklahoma State to the Big 12 championship.
That one was rough for a while. But anyway, I think that should about do it. I have something I need to tend to.
Okay. Well,
So, but I would just want to thank everybody. Thank you, Jeff, of course, for another very fun year. I know it was not what we had hoped for on the field, but I do truly enjoy this hour every Sunday morning.
absolutely.
Really, really do appreciate everybody that comes in, joins us live at the tailgate yesterday. Had multiple people come up to me and say how much they enjoy the show. So means the world. Thank you guys again for a fun year getting to talk Bearcat football. And thanks, as always, to our wonderful partners at Royal Links Golf Tours. Jeff, Hayden, those guys have been great. If you're looking to do a guy's trip, a couple's trip, something to Europe and do a lot more than just cram a bunch of golf in, please reach out to them. They set up some absolutely incredible excursions and unforgettable trips for you. So, please reach out to them. Again, a huge thanks to them. Huge thanks to everybody that joins us each week. And hopefully we can talk about a few more wins when the 2024 season. Oh, and we got a pickle drive by. Perfect timing to end it. So thanks again to everybody. We will catch you in a few months and have a wonderful Sunday.